Welcome back, chameleons, to my channel of Life of an Aspie or Aspie Answers, and I want to welcome to the newbies before I begin what I need to begin with. My name is Aspie Answers. I'm a host, I'm a content creator, I'm a navigator, advocate for mental health and autism and ADHD. I try to journey my life with autism and ADHD along with mental illnesses that I go through on a daily. With my daily struggles, I do some challenges, games and more along the way. You may see Father Lala now and again to come onto my channel for fun and games. So if you're into any of these, feel free to smash that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. So it has come to my thoughts while I've been MIA for a few times when I've been trying to do some hard heavy research based on the topics at hand that I want to address to you guys right now. And the very one I wanted to do was more about ADHD and ADD, because obviously some of it hasn't been raised awareness, much of it, and I want to be one of the ones in the community to share my journey with ADHD so far, as well as just sharing some background information about it so that we can educate ourselves and become aware if we meet someone that has the condition, that we know how to treat them, because we know that despite their differences between us, they can be a good cause and they are still humans and what have you, and we should be just still deemed to be accepted in any community we are at. So this very first one is going to be an updated version of what is ADHD. I think I've already done it in the past of one of the shorter versions. The series of this ADHD and ADD series that I'm hoping to put on my channel and podcast at a later date, as well as my blog, will hopefully come into about roughly estimate 3 mini-series. So if you're wanting to know more about any particular given topic or subject matter based on ADHD, hopefully I've covered it either in the past or now that I'm doing. And if I haven't done so and you're watching this and you're going through playlist that I'm gonna link the iCard above me and in the description box below me, just please comment below and let me know. As well as, like I said so many times before, I'm welcome to people coming onto the channel to actually collab with me to raise awareness about their conditions so that we can spread more awareness and understanding either on some form of mental illness, physical illness or what have you, because as I said, I really want to educate you all, because this is what my community is about. It's about advocating and navigating through life with our conditions, and hopefully we can support one another. So again, this is the very first one and I'll bring it out to you now. So as you know, ADHD, you may be questioning to me, what is that or what does it stand for? Well, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and this describes the unique structure of our brain, similar to our autistic brain, which I'm hoping to do more research about the differences between the autistic brain versus the ADHD brain as well. I'm still going into thorough research because we know the brain is a complex to understand, and I'm hoping that we can bring more to it. And in a sense, a significant number of New Zealanders where I'm from have ADHD, and for those of us who do have it, have many positive characteristics which are experienced alongside with the everyday challenges we may face. Researchers who are passionate about ADHD have been helping to increase the knowledge, or our knowledge especially, and understanding of what makes ADHD is unique. It's now clearly understood that the frontal lobe, prefrontal cortex to be more specific, which I'm going to have an illustration above you, show you where this is, in the ADHD brain develop or mature at a slower rate. Generally maturing is load approximately 3 years in the years of adolescence. So the frontal lobe functions and uses are, or responsible for, more specifically, filtering and controlling attention, behavior, emotion, energy or motor control. So anything that you're doing, physical example is maybe kicking a ball around to you guys. Judgment, so you have to have a clarity and understanding and visual appearance of, judgmental and executive functioning, which includes our ability to plan and organize, which usually me as an ADHD/autistic, I'm usually am planning things anyways on a day-to-day basis based on my to-do list and every other list that I make in the making. That's how I roll. So if you want to know more about making lists or what have you, I'll link it in the iCard above me and in the description box below me for how to go about it as a friendly guide to give you some helpful tips. As the development of the frontal lobe is slower and less matured than the typical average, development, it means that there'll be a neurodevelopmental delay inside the brain. So obviously, as I said, when the brain is slowly developing and maturing, sometimes like inside the brain, synapses ain't fully formed properly and isn't transmitting that much signal around us, basically to give us, certain signals or messages to those synapses, to our output of the nerve or what have you, as well as our sensory glands, or shall we say the sensory pieces of our body, be it the smell, taste, touch of your classic senses. So it does seem to mean that our brain, being an autistic or ADHD, will have to work much harder, basically control these certain aspects that come naturally especially to others of the function of brain in the same age group, whatever. And this is when the nature of the word disordered part comes in, which we know damn well, basically, in the autistic community, especially before I got kicked off on Facebook, that we don't like the word disorder. We like to try and put a different ring to the title. We've got be it autism spectrum, or in this case, I don't know how I'm going to go about this word disorder for ADHD. So if you want to find a classic term that you usually use, if you're a bit frantic about me using the word that triggers you, the word disorder, or any words, I apologize in advance. Please just be friendly enough to comment below so that we can actually create a better understanding. It'd be much appreciated. So back to this. So this also is the reason to why we experience significant fatigue on an everyday basis by the end of a day or a work day, no matter what age we are, basically. This doesn't mean, though, it makes us any less from our peers. However, but rather makes you different in terms of our development trajectory. So in that meaning, basically, I noticed when I first found out about my autism diagnosis and now my ADHD diagnosis, yes, I am a bit slow in a way of maybe responding back if I was. Sometimes I have to mask, like most autistics and HDers that mask to try to have a normal day, regardless how we're feeling, which, as I said, masking is a really dangerous do in the autistic and HDers, and I have actually spoke a little bit about it, but I'm hoping to do more about why is it harmful. But the main reason why it's harmful is by us trying to be like the normal everyday people that hasn't got these conditions, we have to work twice as hard to get the work done, as I said earlier just now, and that it exhausts us to the point that our mental health will be so run down it's not funny. So in covering those two, there are a few types of ADHD as well as basically subtype, which I'm going to cover the 7 types or classes of ADHD in my next video over for part 2, gain a better understanding. But for now, it has been well known that, in argument's sake, there has been 3, but from what I'm reading, for the subtypes especially, there are 7 now. But in this, for the different type of ADHD, under the general understanding and or diagnosis of ADHD, since it's not in the clinical manual of the DSM5, but sadly, I don't know, there are specialized tests, as I mentioned in my video, that they go through, but then again, there are some other tests that maybe are done differently worldwide, just to bear in mind. So as I said, some of this is based on my experiences here in New Zealand, and I'm hoping to do some background research in America, Australia, UK, and wherever else if you are from those areas that are watching today. So please bear with me of all this information I'm sharing. But as I said before, under the general understanding diagnosis of ADHD, individuals usually fit into one of the 3 different subtypes. Okay, I'm going to call these subtypes for now, and these other ones that I mentioned are going to be the 7 types or classes that are going to be in part 2. Stay tuned for that if you're wanting to know. This is because even with the diagnosis of ADHD, it's recognized that within ADHD, everyone is different, and how they think, act, and do their things will vary from person to person. So, however, do not judge them for if you feel they're having a temper tantrum, they could be having a meltdown, they may be having a bad day. It's like how you're going to have to approach people differently in this respect as well. It goes for the same thing that I've been sharing so many times before about people that are autistic, which I'll link in the iCard above me, a playlist, and below me, so that you can hopefully get a better understanding based on the difference between a tantrum and a meltdown and so on and so forth. However, there are commonalities to help with provision of the understanding of the more specific features of each type that are classified. So these subtypes that I'm going to bring out to you of the 3 types, or as I said before, the type is as follows. So you got the predominantly inattentive ADHD. So this type tends to be more prevalent in girls, those who have encountered a injury to the frontal lobe, and those also on the autistic spectrum. The main characteristics may include that they're under control of attention, focus, and concentration. Some impulsivity may be shown in behavioural and emotional hyperactivity, and executive functioning or dysfunctioning, more to the point, are often experienced, but to a much lesser degree in this type. Next one of number 2 is the predominantly hyperactive and impulsive ADHD. This is the most well-known subtype or type of ADHD as child hyperactivity, as we know, including the inappropriately high activity levels such as running, climbing, moving around, etc., is more obvious and as it reads impulsive with their actions, which can lead to trouble with authority and peers based on the lack of understanding and lack of awareness of what's going on with the child. But in the years of the adolescence, however, and adults, as the brain becomes matured, so too does the control level, and the hyperactivity turns from major movement to more minor restlessness and fidgeting. The main characteristics include an under control of behaviours or activities such as your hyperactivity is sped up on certain activity levels that are not lessened appropriately in any given situation, and acting on impulses without controlling these, with thinking before acting. Inattentiveness and executive dysfunction are often also present to these ADHDers. So the last one is predominantly combined ADHD. The main characteristics include an under control of attention, behaviour, activity, and impulses. They are all present in fairly equal measures. The common areas affected in behaviour symptoms of the ADHD and stuff should hopefully be able to have a little table above me to just read through these different ones that will be labelled under the 5 here, which is your inattentive behaviour, your hyperactive behaviour, your impulsive behaviour, emotional impulsivity, and your executive function. In saying this, if it doesn't work out when I have it uploaded above me, I'll hopefully send you guys a link where I got this information and more from my research. Right, last but not least, the important facts about ADHD. As you know, each of us will vary in the type, number, frequency, and severity of our ADHD based on our behaviour and our symptoms, or a bit of both. To determine if myself, which I've already done, someone that you know of has an ADHD, and to get the best treatment, a specialist pediatrician, psychiatrist, or clinical psychologist, but not an educational psychologist, however, assessment is needed. So as I said before, based on the journey of my diagnosis right now that is swaying more towards I feel ADHD, I went into Spout, so I'll link that above me and in the description box about my journey with it, gain a better understanding for those who would like to know more about me as a person especially. So very first fact is ADHD is real, okay? It's not fake or anything. We don't fake it till we make it, as we put it. So please, again, be real, understanding about that. So it's a neurodevelopmental delay in a particular part or specific part of the brain that's responsible for filtering and control. As I said before, some days my brain is almost like an autistic versus an ADHD brain fighting against one another to gather the information if I'm researching it, trying to total recall and everything else. Don't forever think it's willful naughtiness or laziness. It's not, because obviously for ADHDs, we can be like every normal human being without these diagnoses. And as I said before, some of us, we may have to imitate you guys by masking and actually observing your guys' behaviours, what we deem is right and correct in our situation. Sometimes people may think certain people with ADHD could be fake, they don't want to be around fake people. Again, this is sad really about how people treat others that are different, and it's back on the lack of understanding and awareness about what's going on in that person's life. And it'd be nice, sometimes as I've been doing with myself on the channel, my blogs and everything else, to actually ask us what you can do for us. So next part of the note is ADHD has nothing to do with our intelligence. So make no mistake here. Just as there are different levels of intelligence, as we know, across the general population around the world, there are different levels of intelligence in people with ADHD. The delays only affect prefrontal cortex, as I said before, of the small part of our brain. You're as intelligent as you're going to be according to our genes and the environment that we're in, and also the irrespective of having ADHD neurodevelopmental delay. Okay, last but not least is there's less stigma and more support for ADHD today. How the families and professionals have understood ADHD has changed across the globe and many generations, because as we know, many of these diagnoses that it comes across as far and wide has been stretched out now, because obviously there was no help or understanding, resources or tools to actually help us manage and cope with our everyday situations of our diagnoses. I've learned there's much less stigma around getting an assessment and support for ADHD. More and more people are getting assessed and diagnosed with ADHD, however, more than ever before. And the highest proportion is in adults. Often these are parents who have their child assessed and realize they too experience the behavior and symptoms that are shown prevalently in them as well. Adult ADHD, however, adulthood often means access to understanding ourselves in a new, non-judgmental way that allows for support structures to help us to adapt to different situations, to relationship that we're forming or creating from the very let-go, be it of trying to create a relationship with a teacher, a co-worker in the workplace, or a support person, or maybe just someone that we're having a crush on and we want to date, and so on and so forth. The workplace environment and life stages of our adulting, because obviously, as I said before, as we agree or not, that as we grow up and getting older, with or without a diagnosis, it can be difficult as is for each individual, depending on on, what we go through, who we are, and what have you. So it's all about, again, as I said, I can't stress it enough, accepting one another. So before I go, basically, as I said, I'm going to hopefully link 2 iCards up above me. One will hopefully be just hopefully my list of the stuff about ADHD, and maybe hopefully, if YouTube will allow me, it will be the playlist for some stuff about autism, so that you guys can get a better understanding around that as well. If you've got a person that you know of, be it your child, your friend, co-worker, or whoever that has these conditions, so that you can gain a better understanding and knowledge, and hopefully, as I said before, just to accept them for who and what they are. So the next video over, hopefully, as I said, based on my research of the series, hopefully the next one will be those 7 subtypes of ADHD. So stay tuned for that.